So a couple weeks ago, I made my Euros predictions, and now we are going to go back and see if any of them were right. Welcome to this week's edition of The Late Sub. I am your host, Claire Watkins. It is Tuesday, July 15th. The Euros knockout rounds are set, and we are going to take a step down memory lane not too long ago and see kind of what we expected out of the group stage, what we got, and what we're going to see going forward, because it's been a really fun tournament so far. Let's jump right in. All right, the Euros knockout round is set. 2 weeks of good old group stage action got us here. We have the final 8 teams on their way to the quarterfinals. This thing's going to wrap up real quick. These teams are very, very close to the finish line. But I figured we'd take a moment this week, and I'm going to put myself back on the spot because I'm sitting here at home watching from the couch. I'm going to put myself on the spot, return to my earlier predictions about what I thought the Euros group stage was going to look like, what we actually saw, and what that means for these knockout rounds. Because like I said, this is bang, bang, bang. This is going to be over real soon. And it's been very fun so far. I very much enjoyed. You wake up, you have your cup of coffee, you watch a couple European soccer games during the day. It's really, really lovely. That combined with the WNBA camp schedule, it's been like all sports in the middle of the day, and I've really, really enjoyed it. But let's talk about it. Let's talk about what I got right. Let's talk about maybe who I underestimated, who I maybe put too much faith in. Who's my pick to win it all? Are they still going strong? And we're going to do this by group again, but we're going to flip things this time in the interest of sort of storylines and drama and depth, because there was one group that had a lot of depth to it. We're actually going to start with Group D and work our way back up to A. So what was my prediction for Group D? If you go back a couple episodes ago, I predicted that England and the Netherlands would advance. I was worried about France. It's kind of a little bit of an off the beaten path prediction. What actually happened is France advanced at the top of the group with 3 wins in 3 games, and England advanced in second place. I'm going to defend myself here and say I was both very wrong and very right about Group D. I think I got some things wrong, but I also kind of had my one moment of glory for Group D, which I'll get to at the end of this segment. I definitely underestimated France, and I will own that. 9 points, 3 wins in 3 games, opening win over England, being, for my money, one of the best 90 minutes performances of the entire tournament. And it came just very, very early in the group stage. I don't always love the way France defends sometimes, which is why it's hard for me to say, yes, I think they're going to win the whole tournament. Though in a short form tournament like this, maybe they do have that right mix of attack and they can kind of shore up the defense to get through these next 3 games. Delphine Cascarino, their forward, has been incredible for them. The NWSL schedule has actually been kind of kind to more than one goal scorer in this event. There's like nothing like being played in, especially as a forward, versus some of these other forwards who have been out of season for a number of weeks before coming into this tournament. And they do seem like they can overcome some of the defense's mistakes. We saw a wonderful comeback win against the Dutch in the final group stage game. They had a couple weak moments there in the back, but then these moments of brilliance from the attack. France is back on top, and they look like world beaters once again. And so for my money, if they take away from this group stage, 3 wins, like I said, in the toughest group in the tournament, very, very hard to do. And if they put together 1 amazing performance and 2 pretty good ones, I still think that's some of the best overall football we've seen so far. So I definitely underestimated France, and I will own that. I've really enjoyed what I've seen from them in this tournament so far. I was also wrong in the other direction about the Netherlands. The dysfunction going on in the Netherlands camp, I think, went way deeper than I had accounted for in my predictions. The more I read about it, the more I watched them on the field, the more I realized, like, oh, there is something going on with the Netherlands here that I did not completely understand going into this tournament. A little bit of backstory. Their manager, Andries Jonker, went into the Euros as a lame duck manager, meaning that he knew, regardless of his performance, his contract was not going to be renewed after the Euros. He was open about that. He was upset about it. He talked about it in the press. At one point, he told media that he considered quitting before the Euros even began because he knew that he was not going to continue as the coach of the team. Shocking that didn't go well. I think the way that was handled, probably maybe if they would go back, they would do it a little bit differently. Jonker, I think, over-rotated sometimes. The team didn't really settle into much of an on-field chemistry. It seems like he alienated both like these veterans of the team that that had been, had all of this international experience and maybe were going to be leaned on to get the team through this group stage. But he also alienated some of the young players who do so well for their clubs. And then when they come into a national team environment, they're not playing as much. And so the team is caught between two minds where the veterans don't feel supported and the new young generation doesn't feel supported. We saw limited minutes from Vivianne Miedema, some of which looked like maybe it was a little bit of overcoaching, again, over-rotating, but also Miedema has had some lingering issues over the last couple of years in terms of injuries, and they've relied on her a lot since she was a very young player to carry this team forward. And all of that, that concoction turns into the Dutch getting blown out by both England and France. I clearly did not realize that it had gotten this bad, but this tournament was such a tough point for the Netherlands that it makes you wonder exactly where the Dutch are going, if they are developing the players that they need to remain a power in world football, where we've seen such success from them 2017, 2019, Tokyo Olympics, making it to I think the quarterfinal round there. Like, what are they able to do going forward? Are they developing this new level of players? And why did the federation allow things to get this bad going into a major tournament like the Euros? So we leave the Netherlands in the dust. They are the odd team out here. Three very good teams in France, England, and Netherlands, and the Dutch are the ones asking a lot of questions at the end of this group stage. I say they're going to try to regroup before World Cup qualifying begins again next year. They have to get back into Nations League and try to get better results to see what they can do for 2027. So those were the teams I was wrong about. I was wrong about France and I was wrong about the Netherlands in two different directions. But hey, I think I was right about England. It felt too easy just going into this tournament to write this group off. And it's more of its vibes. And that's kind of what England is running on right now, is a little bit of vibes, a little bit of experience, a little bit of just getting the right players in at the right time to get the results that you need. I just didn't think that even against some of the rumblings in their locker room going into the tournament was necessarily going to result in them getting grouped. They're too experienced, regardless of whatever imbalances they have. They really are a talented group in each positional line. And after their loss to France, they do lose to France in their opening game, but they pounce on the Dutch after that, 4-0. I think that was the worst loss that the Netherlands has suffered in, I think, a major tournament. Obviously, getting forward Lauren James into the mix as much as possible has been key for them. She was the architect of that dismantling of the Netherlands in their second game. They go into the knockout rounds with sort of rollicking 6-1 performance over Wales. Shout out Wales. Love to see them score some goals. I do think the France loss obviously showcased their weaknesses. Many of them present in the back line, which amongst a lot of these top teams actually is kind of a theme. But there's an energy to this group that you kind of saw in 2023 in the World Cup, where they're pretty good at picking themselves up to do what's necessary to advance. That's kind of the Serena Wiegman guarantee, I think, as their manager. And I just am not surprised that they made it out. So I got quite a few things wrong here with Group D, but I feel like kind of functionally, at least in the context of England, despite all of the issues, despite that loss to France, despite some of the things we've heard about in their locker room and even questions about their own progress in terms of the senior team roster, I think they still can make a pretty deep run in this tournament. So is there a tournament winner in Group D? They've made it out of the group stage, France and England, very impressive, but can they go all the way? I think maybe. I really do think that France has made the best case so far in Group D for a team that could go all the way, but they both face big question marks, big competition in the quarterfinals, both France and England. So it's really hard to say. It's difficult for me to say. I think France could go all the way, absolutely. I think England actually could make it really tough on the teams that they play in the knockout round, but their quarterfinal matchups are hard. And I think it's just as possible that we say goodbye to at least one or two of these teams, even just this week. Now, moving on to Group C. Group C, I predicted Germany and Sweden to advance out of Group C would actually happen. Sweden and Germany make it out of Group C. The drama in Group C was not about who advanced. Both Germany and Sweden had the group completely wrapped up by the third match day. No question about that. But the surprise actually came in the third game when Sweden played Germany. And this was, again, just sort of for the top of the group. This was for momentum. It was not about advancing. It was just about putting the good performance together. And Sweden blasted Germany out of the stratosphere 4-1 to win Group C. I've said it before. I'll say it again. I really like Sweden. I know that they're the US's like frenemies. I know that they have been a thorn in the US's side for years, but I like them. They were one of the few teams in this group stage who showed up looking like they actually wanted to win every game. I mean, it's so simple, but just to say Sweden is a team that understands that the purpose of football is to win in international play. And I just like the way that they're kind of high flying use of purposeful possession gave everybody trouble, including Germany, as we saw. I really do think Sweden is a dark horse to make a far run. I think they could be the emerging team out of the quarterfinal round. I do fear the classic Sweden experience where they look like one of the best teams in the whole competition to start and then fizzle out when the going gets tough. We've seen it time and time and time again from Sweden. But, you know, there's nothing wrong with the wonderful start. And it's been really cool to see their group stage because I like this team. Aslani is a player. She is one of those legends of the game that you can imagine would maybe be sort of a centralizing force for Sweden, trying to finally get back to the top of the podium, bring back the 80s, bring back the vibes, Sweden on top. And as for Germany, they were not bad. I mean, I think they were fine. We saw some good things from Germany. We saw some less good things from Germany. Their defensive transition is not good. It's really, really poor. And I think that is ultimately their Achilles heel and why I simply do not think they're going to win the Euros. Too easy to exploit going forward, especially if you switch possession quickly. They're going to have to take on France right away in this quarterfinal round. I think that's going to be very difficult for them. I keep bringing it up, and I know that it's kind of a pain, I think, for Germany fans because it's not new information, but just the loss of their defensive midfielder, Lena Oberdorf, still can't be overstated. They just don't have that presence in the midfield to be able to mitigate the ball coming forward to them. The back line struggled. I even think they had shaky moments against Denmark and against Poland in the group stage, did not really get exposed until they played Sweden. But that Sweden game was pretty bad. And it really looked like Germany has a lot of exploitable holes, especially when the ball is coming at them quickly, it's just too easy to scout. Frankly, going into a knockout stage, I think that other teams are going to be able to look at this Germany side and know exactly what they want to do. And as well as we've seen France's forwards playing, I think this is going to be difficult for them. So is there a tournament winner in Group C? If you like feel-good stories, absolutely. Sweden, let's go. I would love it if Sweden made it all the way to the final or even won. I don't know if I'm exactly predicting that, but that's where my heart goes. They have a wealth of experienced players. This is a really, really experienced group. I think that they have a clarity of purpose of trying to get this, this final shot at a trophy with some of these players that have put in shifts for them for years and years and years. I think they're confident. Their longtime head coach, Peter Gerhardsson, I think has the right approach for them. I think they want to go off into the sunset with a career-defining win. I would love to see it, but I also would simply accept Sweden giving England a run for their money in the quarterfinals. I think that would be really fun. I'm looking forward to that matchup a lot. So a lot to like in Group C, but a little bit shakier even than what we saw from France and England in Group D, I think. Moving back down to Group B, my prediction going into Group B was I thought Spain was going to win the group and I thought Portugal was going to advance. What actually happened is Spain won the group and Italy advanced in second. I will own my huge overconfidence in Portugal. They kept it interesting until the final match day, but did not give much hope as an actual knockout round contender. I whiffed on that one, I will say. I thought Italy did just enough. I enjoy watching Italy. I feel like they have a few bright moments, steady progress every single time we see them in a major tournament, which is nice. I think football is more fun when Italy is playing well. I thought that they did a really nice job, especially against a Belgium team that was not bad. I actually enjoyed what I saw from Belgium as well, even if the results didn't go their way. There was a lot of really nice, what you might call like mid-level international play in this group. I enjoyed every single game. I liked that some of the ranking in the group went all the way to the third match day. But when I was doing my predictions and I said the Group D is going to be a referendum on Spain, it did really kind of shake out that way in terms of who is like one of the top contenders to actually win this whole thing. And let me tell you, Spain look really good. And it's not just the players you expect, it's the players you really expect. And also a storyline that I think many of us hoped for, but needed to kind of see to believe is that Alexia Putellas looks like her old self again and crushing other teams. It's just weapon upon weapon upon weapon. As we know, Putellas missed the last Euros because she had an ACL tear. She was more limited physically despite being on the team for the 2023 World Cup win. But now it looks like she is back to remind the whole world exactly who she is. And it's yet another weapon in this midfield and attack for Spain that I just don't know. I really just don't know who stops it. Bonmati has looked very good. Patry has been sort of an architect. The passing, the shots, the whole package is there. I think you could do a goal package of just Spain goals and call all of them like the goals of the tournament. Esther is the Euros Golden Boot leader with 4 goals coming out of the group stage. Again, shout out NWSL. It keeps you sharp. Followed by Alexia with 3 goals. Spain is another team that can be exposed in defensive transition. They do have weaknesses in their back line. But, Belgium scores and that game ends 6-2 and then 3-1 against Italy. The back line is not infallible, but you watch the midfield and you watch the attack, it just doesn't feel like it matters. They have so many weapons and they're playing fun, cutthroat soccer with a singular goal in mind. And I will double down again on what I said, which is that I think Spain really shines against European competition. They know that competition well and they know how to exploit it. They're blowing opponents out of the park. Is there a tournament winner in this group? Absolutely. Spain was my pick going into this tournament. They are still my pick now. They play Switzerland in the quarterfinal round. I just don't think they're going to have trouble with that. Maybe famous last words, you never know. But I just think that we're going to see Spain in this final. They're going to have a tough semifinal if it does come to that. But I just love what we've seen from Spain, and I just see no reason to think that they're going to slow down anytime soon. If somebody else wins this tournament, it is because Spain has made a mistake or they have underperformed, because this is the squad. They really, really should be 2025 Euros winners. Now, after all of that, the high highs, we're moving on to Group A. We're doing this last. My prediction was Norway and Iceland. What happens is that Norway and Switzerland makes it out. Group A definitely happened. They definitely played some soccer games. I definitely watched them. As expected, this just didn't feel like the most serious group. Norway wins the group, but they're still better on paper than in reality. They do win 3 games. Like, you have to shout out, they win the games in front of them, but they still had moments where they looked out of their depth. They had a dumb red card in their final game of the group stage. They benefited from 2 own goals. I mean, maybe Norway's going to shock the world. I actually think that would be very cool, but I just still to this day do not see it. I was way off on Iceland. They had a howler of a tournament, even by their own standards, unfortunately. And I was similarly off about Switzerland, the hosts. I didn't have super high hopes for them. But if you have to have a group like this one, Group A, where it just doesn't seem like it's quite as competitive, you might as well have the host team around to party just a little bit longer. So I'm actually so happy that Switzerland made it out of the group. I thought they did a wonderful job keeping things really interesting. I thought their final match day, where it became clear that they were going to go through once they got that win, was really, really cool. I do want to shout out Finland, though, in this group. I think that Finland gave it a tough shot. They were maybe my favorite underdog of the tournament. It came closer than you might think to making it to the knockout round. So I did enjoy what we saw from Finland. And in fact, like, that was kind of the nice thing perhaps about Group A, is that we did at least see competition within the group. But there's not much more to say about Group A, probably for the best. We'll leave that in the past. Is there a tournament winner in this group? I really don't think so. I mean, they do play Italy. Norway plays Italy in the quarterfinal round. I do actually think that could go either way. We could see Norway as a Euros semifinalist. Like, that is absolutely possible. But I just think that the path there has not looked so great. And I just don't think going up against a true heavy hitter, they're going to be able to win the whole thing. So not too much on Norway, I guess. But Group A, thank you for your service. And we're moving on. So speaking of moving on, here are the quarterfinal matchups. We'll just do a little light. Again, we're not going to go too deep into the predictions here because we are in the home stretch. Norway versus Italy, Sweden versus England, Spain versus Switzerland, and France versus Germany. So I obviously think Spain is going to have no trouble with Switzerland. Would be shocking if they did not make it to the semifinal round. Norway versus Italy, very hard to say. It really should be Norway based on their roster. Will they be able to pull it off? But the 2 blockbusters here in the quarterfinal round that are very exciting, Sweden versus England and France versus Germany, those are the ones to watch. It's going to be a single quarterfinal for the next 4 days, so check your schedules. I think that, maybe Sweden makes a go for it. I think that it would be very cool if they were able to upset England in this quarterfinal round. Unfortunately, if France does make it past Germany, which, as I said above, I really think that they will, they have to play Spain in the semifinal, which I think is too bad. I would have loved a Spain versus France final if it came to that. But I think it's just as likely. I mean, love it or hate it, I think it's just as likely we see England versus Spain, just like the 2023 World Cup in the Euros final. I think that it could happen. Again, Spain has the quality. England has the experience. I would love for it to be Sweden in the final, but I just think it's possible that we run it back. We run it back, and we're going to run it back all the way. I think Spain is still winning the Euros after all of this group stage action. Everything I've seen, I think Spain can get it done. I think if they do make it to that semifinal against France, circle that thing. That's going to be an awesome, awesome game. So this has been really, really fun. Really enjoying the Euros so far. We might check back in to see kind of what happens in these knockout rounds. But again, I just highly recommend, like I said, it's going to be one game for the next 4 days, starting with Norway versus Italy. Check it out. Don't miss it. This is going to be some high quality stuff. The Late Sub is part of the Just Women Sports Network. This show is written by Claire Watkins and produced and edited by Parker Fenton. To get more of your favorite women's sports content, subscribe to the Just Women Sports newsletter and follow Just Women Sports across all your favorite channels.